All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Yes, I'm back. We're going to have a fascinating show for you. Now, there's a lot of bad news in the first segment. We've got another beheading from ICE I'm going to start with in a second. We've got invasions. We've got land grabs. The world is fairly disastrous today as we stand, and I got to share it with you as it is. And in the second hour, we really hit a firestorm. Those celebrity pictures that have been leaked, the reaction to it is interesting, and our reaction has garnered a counter reaction, which is also interesting. And we will talk about that, including the 5 lamest excuses for why it's okay to look at those and post those naked pictures, okay? So we're going to break that down. Okay, now, like I said, lots of foreign policy, lots of news. Oh, and then, of course, if you haven't seen the Eric Cantor news, I hope you're sitting down now, and when I deliver you the details, it turns out he went to Wall Street. What is this? Who could have guessed? All right, let's get started. Another day, and unbelievably, another beheading. The Islamic State, that is now in control of about a third of Syria and a third of Iraq, and has wiped out the border in between, has beheaded another American journalist, Steven Sotloff. This time they did it very similar to the last time, as with James Wright Foley. They did a video. They put him in orange garb, and that is, by the way, to represent Guantanamo. They say that, you know, we are holding prisoners in Gitmo like this, and that they are holding prisoners equally. Now, we did some terrible things in Gitmo, and we criticized our government for doing so. We didn't do anything like this. We did not cut their heads off with a knife. And it was gruesome, and it is disgusting morally in every way possible. And these guys obviously are not to be negotiated with, and no matter what you do, whether you attack them, whether you try to talk to them, it doesn't seem to matter. You get the beheadings either way. Now, of course, I'll show you in a little bit. Fox News is already on the attack, blaming President Obama for it, saying he should have been tougher. But ISIS, by their own words, say that they attacked and did these beheadings because we bombed them. So if we had bombed them further, that doesn't really help the situation. In fact, they say if we do any more bombings, they're going to behead a third Westerner that they hold, and that is British journalist David Cawthorne Haynes. Some have described him as a journalist, some have described him as an aid worker. You're looking at Steven Sotloff there. Just that picture alone, let alone knowing what happened afterwards, is just so terrifying. And that's part of their point here. That's what they want to do. Now, they say, remember at the end of the last video, when they beheaded Foley, they said, the life of this American citizen, they had shown Sotloff, Obama, depends on your next decision. And they said, if you bomb us again, we will behead the guy. We did bomb them again, and they did behead Sotloff. Okay, now, I'm showing you what didn't work, but let me show you another strategy that unfortunately did not reach its goal either, and that it was Shirley Sotloff's strategy. That was the mother of Steven. Now, don't get me wrong, I would do anything for my kids, and my heart hurts every time I think about her situation. She tried this, and I think any parent might try anything to get their kid out of that situation. She sent this message pleading to the Islamic State. I am sending this message to you, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi al-Quraishi al-Husseini, the Caliph of the Islamic State. I am Shirley Sotloff. My son Steven is in your hands. You, the Caliph, can grant amnesty. I ask you please to release my child. I ask you to use your authority to spare his life. And of course, that did not work either. So carrots don't work, sticks don't work, nothing works. And their demand, by the way, was over $100 million and the end to us ever bombing them again. So obviously, we weren't going to do that either. By the way, the Americans and the British do not negotiate with terrorists. Now, we used to back in the day, of course, during the Ronald Reagan's years, we negotiated with terrorists all the time, and we traded arms for hostages. And that set a bad precedent. It led to more people being kidnapped. Now, we have stopped doing that. And unfortunately, we haven't had kidnappings like this in a long time, meaning, unfortunately, they have sprung up again. It was good that they had not happened, but when someone is captured, Often the Europeans pay a ransom, and in fact, it has unfortunately increased the finances of the terrorists in different factions, different groups at different times. We don't participate in that. But the downside of that principle is our hostages very often, almost always, get executed or held indefinitely. So that has happened to these two, by the way, great Americans. I mean, you want to talk about courage to go into the middle of Syria to do reporting so the world can know what's happening. He was in there to find out what had happened to the Syrian people, whether they were being killed by Bashar al-Assad or groups like the Islamic State, and what had happened to the kids. Were they going to school in the meanwhile? I mean, amazing, amazing reporting by these two reporters who are no longer with us. So now, of course, here comes the criticism. Katie McFarland, who, funny enough, worked for the Reagan administration, who used to negotiate with terrorists, is going to come on Fox News and criticize President Obama anyway.
A sad day for America, right?
You bet. And I'm not sure it's a day that had to happen. You know, the president has stuck his head in the sand. We now have evidence that he's known about the threat that was mounting, coming, the ability of ISIS to take large areas, be well-funded, be well-armed. And the president stuck his head in the sand. And now we've seen 2 Americans have lost their heads.
Yeah, that's a really clever pun. Ha ha, that's really funny. 2 reporters just got beheaded. And now you're talking about head versus head, and it's all President Obama's fault. But wait a minute. ISIS said that they beheaded the guys because Obama kept bombing them. Well, you said he stuck his head in the sand, that he's not doing anything about it. But he is doing something about it. Now, if you criticize him for doing the bombing and that got these guys killed, I'd say you're wrong again, because you can't negotiate with Islamic State. They're going to do the beheadings either way. But at least you would have a logical nexus. Whereas your irrational point is, I don't like President Obama, and he didn't negotiate with these guys. In fact, he bombed them, but I'm still going to say he did nothing, and it was all his fault. Why? Because I'm on Fox News. Again, she was Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs under President Ronald Reagan, who consistently negotiated with terrorists. At least if you had any kind of decency, you would come out and say, oh, my boss, he would have gotten them out by bribing the terrorists. He would have given them money, as he did, Reagan did, and he would have given them weapons so they could attack us more and they could get more hostages. That's what Reagan would have done. That's what I would have helped Reagan to do. But instead, she comes out here and makes puns and points about what President Obama should do. Now, she's not only going to do that. I mean, you know how the Republicans always say, if there's a shooting, don't politicize it, don't politicize it, right? Don't ever talk about gun control. And the list goes on things you're not supposed to politicize. Now, here she comes connecting it to our issues at the border, which have absolutely nothing to do with this.
It's not just who's going to be dying in the Middle East when this group expands to the region. Who's protecting the homeland? The president has said nothing in all these conversations about we're going to secure the border. We're going to get rid of political correctness and figure out who's here. We're going to find out what American passport holders are going into the Middle East, are fighting in Syria and Iraq, getting trained, and then coming back to America. We have heard nothing about
Because last week we heard that there was no strategy.
Admittedly by the president.
Admittedly. What does this do, this beheading, reportedly, to raise the stakes and the pressure on President Obama and this administration to react, to say something?
They've already said something. They've said something over and over. Not only have they said something, they've already bombed the Islamic State over and over and over again. So they say there's no strategy here. The president admitted himself. He was specifically referring to, do I have a military strategy for what to do in Syria when the Islamic State, who we hate and despise, is fighting Bashar al-Assad, who we hate and despise? Well, if you've got a military strategy on that Fox News, let us know, because that's a tough question. I know what their answer would be. Just obliterate Syria, bomb both sides. And then how would we be liberating them, right? So, of course, they're going to use this for every political angle and then secure the border. Now, what does the border have to do with this poor guy getting beheaded in the middle of Iraq and Syria? The border with Mexico, by the way. We're not talking about the border between Iraq and Syria. The border with Mexico and the U.S. They say, oh, no, the Islamic State's constantly coming over. What evidence? None. None. One piece of evidence that a blogger had was a prayer rug that was left over, which turned out to be an Adidas soccer jersey. Don't politicize. Sure, this hours after we find out about the beheading, this is what's happening on Fox News. One more.
apparently in his presidential daily briefings, the PDBs, as it's known in the inside circles, that apparently ISIS has been talked about in those briefings for the last year, and the president, we know, reads these briefings. So it just came to head for all of us to know about ISIS in the last few months, but ostensibly the president has known about it. So what are they going to do about that report now?
To me, it's a dereliction of duty. I mean, I worked for Henry Kissinger when he prepared the president's daily brief and gave it to President Nixon. The president's daily brief is the most highly classified document in the United States government. What was this president doing? Well, he was playing a lot of golf this summer, but he clearly was not attending to the defense of the United States.
No, another cute thing. Oh, yeah, he plays golf. Ha ha. Yeah, we got him. He plays golf. Okay. How about the presidential daily briefing they gave to George W. Bush when he was on vacation, not for a week, for a month, for the entire month of August? And what year would that have been? Oh, 2001. What's the month after August in 2000? Oh, right, September 11th of 2001, we got hit by Al-Qaeda. A presidential daily briefing in August of that year had said bin Laden determined to attack inside the United States. Literally, after that briefing was given to him, Bush told the CIA agent who gave him the briefing, you covered your ass, now go home. Didn't give a damn. Went back on vacation for a month. And now Fox News comes out and says, well, he knew about ISIS. Of course, we knew about it. We talked about it on air. The question is, what do? You want to send ground troops to help Bashar al-Assad, the dictator in Syria, fight against these guys? Do you want to give money to other Sunni militants to fight against these guys? You want to give more money to the Iraqi army that runs like cowards from these guys? You want to send our guys to die in that area between Iraq and Syria? What do you want to do? All you want to do is play politics and criticize the president. I got no love for 100 different things the president does, but God damn it, you got to be fair. And this is not about what the president did. This is about the Islamic State. Yes, how horrific they are, and the bravery and the courage of these journalists. They're covering this no matter what, so we find out the reality and not the propaganda that we get fed by groups like Fox News. Don't politicize, they say. They're such fucking liars. And the minute it goes against them, no, don't politicize anything. Guy gets his head cut off. The borders with the Mexicans. It's the fault of Obama because of the borders with the fucking Mexicans. All right. Okay, now, let's show you what we're doing in other parts of the world and see if that helps, okay? I don't think it does. Okay. Now, some of these stories are going to get lighter. This one is not light, although it's absurd. All right. 6 militants killed in Somalia by the United States of America. Why? Presumably somebody in the executive administration knows. We are told that there was very dangerous people there, and we had to kill them. The guy we were targeting is Ahmed Abdi Godani. Okay. He is part of Al-Shabaab. Okay. And it was apparently on their way to Barawe. All right. And let me show you a map, because there's no way in the world you know where Barawe is. If you're one of the 6 people who do, God bless your heart. Okay? And there it is in Somalia somewhere. Now, why am I telling you this story? Look at us, man. We're bombing all over the world. This is not Boko Haram in Nigeria. This is not Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. This is not Hezbollah or Hamas. This is just, look at that, Al-Shabaab in Somalia. Let's go bomb them too. 6 militants killed. They're not sure they got Ahmed Abdi Godani. They got 6 guys. They might have or might not have gotten their target. Another usual strike by the United States. Now, is Al-Shabaab bad guys? I've read about them. Yes, they are. They're bad guys. They're terrorists. They're Muslim fundamentalists. I hate them. Is that good enough? Okay. Now, do we think it's making America safer to go bombing in all these different countries? I haven't even mentioned Pakistan and Yemen, where we do most of our drone strikes, let alone the war we're in Afghanistan and the war we have rejoined in Iraq. Okay. Now, we bomb all over the world, and then we turn around and go, they hate us because they hate us. Now, I don't like Al-Shabaab. I wish it didn't exist. I hope there's an effective way of fighting them. And perhaps in this one case, if you looked into the details and you know what they knew, which of course they won't share with us, and maybe the executive administration made the right decision in this case. I'd like to hear the evidence on that, right? But don't be surprised when it turns out that there are a lot of different people who would like to counterattack against us. All right, no, ignore progressives, ignore libertarians like Rand Paul, who say that perhaps going all over the world and bombing like a significant percentage of the countries in the world is not that great an idea, that perhaps that could cause some trouble for us, but whether we like it or not, we have become the world's cops. Ask Ferguson how much they like cops who use a lot of force, right? So now here we are. We've got all these people all across the world really, really angry because sometimes we hit the right guys. And even some people, of course, get angry about that. And a lot of times we hit the wrong guys. Oops. Then we turn the local populations against us. And the war machine hums on. There is one group that loves all this conflict. The group making the weapons. Defense contractors. So they saw this news and they said, who cares if we got Ahmed Abdi Ghadani? I don't even know who that guy is, and I don't know where Barawe is. I know that this will lead to other people and the United States government buying more and more weapons. Great. Okay. Now we go to Libya, which is a little bit lighter, even though our embassy has been taken. That's the light news of the day. Our embassy has been taken. Okay. In Tripoli, we have lost our embassy. Now, in a manner of speaking, we lost it a month ago when we decided to evacuate. We have militants all over Libya, different forms of militants, different groups. Some of them are with the official government. Most of them are against the official government. The official government is no longer in the capital. They have gone to eastern Libya. They have fled. And we have fled along with them, not to eastern Libya, but to other countries in the area. Our diplomats have been removed. So militants have taken parts of Tripoli, and today they took our embassy. Or I should say yesterday they took it and had a blast, literally, because there's a pool in there. So they decided to have some fun and jump off the roof and do some, well, not cannonballs, but different kinds of dives and have a good time. Here, let's show you the video.
حسيك لي كويس زي هاي عوض حول حول.
No, they are not the world's worst divers. I watched the whole video. They're trying to hit their face into the water. Okay. They are militants after all, so. Amazingly, our embassy has not been ransacked or damaged. They just walked in, took it, and went for a swim. A bit of a dirty pool, if you will. Literally, they should put some chlorine in there, but we haven't been there in a month. Now, you can look at those and go, militants, look at their dangerous face plants into the pool. And they're speaking languages I don't understand. Or that looks like any frat party you've ever gone to. So, they are young men. They were having a good time in that pool. We are not having a good time in Tripoli, where we have lost all order. I say we. It's roughly the government we are aligned with that is now in hiding in eastern Libya. Okay, so, oh well, that's not going well either. This thing is devolving at a fairly rapid pace. And now, of course, Fox News will look at that and add the cry of Tripoli to their cry of Benghazi. And no one will know what they're talking about there either. They'll be like, look, well, President Obama was playing golf. The militants were swimming in our pool. Tripoli. Tripoli the danger, but in this case, Tripoli the fun as well. Okay, nobody got killed, luckily. All right, that was a fun militant story. We continue the fun with our own goofball, Louis Gohmert. All right. Now, Louis Gohmert is going to talk about the DREAM Act. Shockingly, he's going to involve somehow the Islamic State in here. I'm saying shockingly, of course, I'm joking. Gohmert would include the Islamic State and Benghazi and everything else in any attack against the president, and of course, golf. But we'll get to that as well. Here we go.
You got to understand, when the president's worked on a plan, a strategic plan to deal with ISIS, he spent so much time on that, or not, that maybe he didn't have enough time to think about education. But you think about it, he calls it a dreamer bill, what he had proposed, but it's more of a nightmare.
You're dreaming with a nightmare. That's good. You got him. ISIS has to do with the DREAM Act, which involves people who've done really well in school being able to get an education at the college level. Benghazi. I have no idea how those two things connect. Okay, here we go.
But it's a scam in a lot of cases. Immigrants know that once they enroll in school, it's much harder to deport them, so there are a lot of people pretending to be kids who aren't.
And, you know, we don't want to be unfair. Just because a student has gray hair doesn't mean they're not necessarily the teenager they claim to be. But, you know, of the 100% of the kids coming in, of the people coming in, only about 20% are claiming to be children. And about 80%.
Is that true?
Yeah, and only about 80% of the 20% who claim to be kids. I mean, I've met them as they come across the border. They claim to be teenagers, and you go, man, most teenagers don't have a full beard like that.
No, and if you listen to the president, you get the feeling they're all orphaned 4-year-olds.
No.
Oh, this is great. First of all, we have new things that are just made up out of whole cloth. They're not kids. Before they were anchor babies or they were terrorist kids, there was the ultimate kid warriors. There was another conspiracy theory by the conservatives. Now, no, it turns out they're not even kids. They all have beards. It's because Louis knows, because he met them at the border. Well, then why didn't you stop him, Louis? Louis out at the border every other day, like, hey, how you all doing? Oh, you're part of the 100%, that's the 20%, that's the 80%? Okay, but you got a beard. Come on in. The only thing more pathetic than Louis Gohmert is Tucker Carlson laughing at his jokes. Oh, how embarrassing is that? It's like, good one, Louis. Where's my bow tie? All right, one more here from Louis and Tucker.
It's not fair to the schools, and we bear the cost of the president dreaming. I think he's daydreaming. I don't think it's a dreamer bill. It's a daydreamer. He's daydreaming while he's
Congressman
playing golf.
Louis Gohmert.
The answer's on the 18th hole. That's where he's
Thanks for joining us.
At the 18th hole, golf. I forgot to mention golf. Wait, what does that have to do with the border or ISIS or whatever else you were talking about? Benghazi. You're dreaming, but it's a bad dream. It's a nightmare, but he's daydreaming. And Tucker's like, these two knuckleheads definitely deserve each other. Well, at least they deserve each other 100% of the time when it's 20% of the time at 80% of it. I saw him at the border. Yeah, God damn it. They're not kids. Okay. You always got to do that with Louis. I don't think you choose, but I'm not sure. Anyway, all right, here we go. How did we have fun in this segment? I don't know. Okay, let's go to one last story for no reason. Let's go to Russia. Okay, we ready for it? All right. Here we go. More disaster across the world. Now, Russia had been supporting pro-Russian separatists in Ukraine. Now, Russia already took Crimea. Then they went into eastern and southern Ukraine. Now, I say they went in because the estimates are they have about 1,000 to 1,600 troops that are specifically Russian troops already inside Ukraine. They also have 20,000 Russian troops amassed at the border ready to go in. Now, you see next to me here, not Russian in. Why? Because it's not that they're not there. It's that they have come up with a fascinating strategy, which is to just go in a little bit at a time. So, and every time somebody questions them, they go, what? What do you mean? What are you talking about? I don't know. We're not there. No. No, it's little brown men. It's little green men. It's this, it's that. No, those are just relief trucks. No, that was that armored personnel carrier. There was no such thing. No, I don't know what Ukraine's talking about. 1,000 guys in here. They're not in here. Okay? And then later they turn around as they did with Crimea and go, oh, yeah, that was us. We were in there and we took it. Sad day for you. It's now ours. Look, every time I'm reminded of that story where Putin and Robert Kraft had met. Robert Kraft is the owner of the New England Patriots. This is a while back now. And Robert Kraft was showing him one of his Super Bowl rings. And Putin said, oh, that looks nice, and put it in his pocket and left. That's a literal story. That's one we should have known. This guy doesn't give a damn. Oh, that's your ring? Wrong. It's my ring. I has it. Okay? So I told you Russia was coming, and they're coming. So that 1,000 will turn into 2,000, it'll turn into 5,000. Now, when Ukraine says, wait a minute, this is an invasion, they're already in here, right? Now we've got Ukrainian officials warning of this war will not cost the lives of thousands of people, it'll cost the lives of tens of thousands of people, even more. Already 2,500 to 2,600 people have been killed, over 300,000 have been displaced, and we're just getting started. So, in fact, Valery Geletier, Ukraine's defense minister, sorry for the pronunciation, said, "A great war arrived at our doorstep, the likes of which Europe has not seen since World War II." So, they have not run across the border with all of their military at the same time. What they're doing, and it is a bit of a brilliant strategy actually, is they put that frog in the boiling water and they increase the temperature a little bit at a time. And every time the frog asks, well, isn't it awfully hot in here? They go, what are you talking about? You're crazy. Perfectly lukewarm water here. And this guy's crying about this or that. And now Russia turns around and says, you know, there should be a political solution to this where eastern and southern Ukraine decide their own fate. Kind of like Crimea did and wound up in our back pocket next to Robert Kraft's Super Bowl ring. So that is the intent here. Putin will try to, and is in the middle of trying to, take southern and eastern Ukraine. He has invaded, he just hasn't done it in the traditional sense. There are already thousands of Russian troops in. And yes, by the way, before they had come in, the pro-Russian forces were getting routed. The Ukrainian government was retaking some of the territory. Since the Russian troops have come in, that has reversed itself. Now the Russians are taking back more territory. They took an airport. Now they're in a coastal town, and they are taking territory as we speak. And once they've taken it all, they'll turn around and go, what? Golly gee, it wasn't me. It turns out that it was the good people of eastern and southern Ukraine that wanted independence and wanted to have a vote about where they want to go. And when asked about all this in internal dialogue with the European Union, Putin apparently warned them, hey, listen, I can take Kiev in 2 weeks. Kiev, of course, is the capital of Ukraine. Then there's that. So we are in the middle of a war, and it's not just in Ukraine. Putin is not going to stop. It was South Ossetia first. It's Crimea next. It's eastern and southern Ukraine now. And tomorrow it will be more areas in former Soviet countries. In fact, the other day he gave a speech where he said, Kazakhstan? Is it really Kazakhstan? I'm not kidding. That's what he said. That was exactly what he used to say about eastern and southern Ukraine and about Crimea. So Kazakhstan, welcome. You're apparently next on the dinner menu. We're bombing al-Shabaab in Somalia. We're all over the world. And Putin's like, what are you going to do? Fight me in Ukraine? Or Georgia? Or Moldova? Or Kazakhstan? You're not going to fight me anywhere. I'm just going to take it and take it and take it. One of the things that we had most warned you about on this program 12 years ago, now maybe even longer than that, when we were considering the war in Iraq, and we said it will have a domino effect. We will set a precedent that you simply go into a country that did not attack you and take land. That is exactly what Russia's doing. The other problem with the Iraq war was it would keep us busy. So we couldn't actually fight al-Qaeda, who was in Afghanistan at the time, and whatever new dangers would come up. Well, this is a new danger. It has come up, and we can't do a goddamn thing about it. Welcome to the new world, Young Turks. That was a segment from hour one of the show.
Now for the better hour, the second hour.
Drums. You can get the whole show on TYT-network.com. All right, back on the Young Turks. All right, two things before we go on to more stories from today. All right, first, I want to correct something that happened on the show yesterday. We inadvertently showed a picture of Jennifer Lawrence that was hacked. Now, it wasn't a naked picture of her, okay? And we didn't realize that it was one of the pictures that was from the hacked material. So, but it's nonetheless a mistake, and that mistake is on us,
yes.
Okay? And so she was clothed in that picture, but it was from that group of pictures, yes. Okay? We thought it was just a picture that already existed on the internet. That's our mistake. So I just wanted to correct that. I wanted to let you guys know and own up to it. Mm-hmm. So we feel bad about that. We obviously should have never used that picture. You shouldn't use any of those pictures. And we certainly won't do that going forward. Just wanted to own up to it even though no one asked. Yeah. Okay? All right. So that was just clarification I wanted. Now, I don't know if you guys have I don't know if you noticed, but we got a new sponsor. Fun for everybody. What is this? So you might have seen some of our ads for Squarespace in which I am the world's worst actor. And
it turns out that I'm actually really good at acting.
I don't know about that, but you're like...
I heard, through The Office that my acting is top notch. And I'm now considering a career change.
Oh, okay, good luck. All right, so she appears for a second and a half in the commercial. and does a decent job, unlike me, who handed up like crazy. Anyway, so what are we doing with Squarespace? We're doing a contest, okay? Yes. So we're doing the regular promotion, but also a contest. So you can win a free lifetime membership and $1,000 towards consultations with a web designer.
Hell yeah, make it rain.
Right. Now, I did a site, okay? It's called DjangoUnchained.com, like C-N-K-O. There it is, Django Unchained. Like for all the clips where I lose it, okay? Mm-hmm. Of course, the USA Today Sucks Balls clip, etc. Now, you have to know something. Even though we set this whole thing up and first online news show, network, etc., I don't know a thing about tech. So I was like, how do we do this? But it was really simple, and the whole process helped me because I was like, okay, I get it. It is simple. Mm-hmm. You put the videos there, you write some cute things there, boom, okay? So every Friday, we're going to pick among you guys, okay? Mm-hmm. And so we're going to have staff favorites, and we're going to have different categories.
TYT staff pick.
And you got to go to hashtag TYT SQSP. That's a lot of letters. SQ for Squarespace. SQSP, right? TYT SQSP. You submit your site. A lot of people have already submitted their sites.
There it is.
Boom. Okay.
You like that.
And if you actually use squarespace.com/TYT, you will get a 14-day free trial. You get a 10% off your subscription. And so this Friday, we're going to break down my website, but for the winners in each following Friday, we're going to have different categories like Wasikterlan, and we'll announce all the categories later. You're going to get a badass exclusive TYT t-shirt that you can't get anywhere else.
Yes, that's the most exciting part. Let's keep it real.
Okay, it's fun. And now, look, I did my own site. We also have someone here who did whatistyt.com. It's Bro Tip. Rare appearance on the program. Haas, who also works in our sales department. Yeah, you're on. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay, so why did you use Squarespace for What is TYT? This is real. This is way before we ever signed on with them.
So, as you guys may or may not know, I have a very serious job here at TYT in the sales department. And I wanted to use the most efficient website possible, the one that looked the most professional and required the least amount of effort, obviously. And I worked with two other websites, website development platforms before Squarespace. I'm not going to name them here, but one was very complicated, and then the other one didn't look professional at all. And I feel like Squarespace, they were all drag and drop. There are a bunch of other platforms that also use drag and drop, but Squarespace was definitely the most professional looking one. And if you guys go visit the website, www.whatistyt.com, you'll see for yourselves.
Okay, now, if there's one thing I know, Bro Tip does not like to do extra work.
He does not.
Okay, so he found the easiest one, and it looks really good. I mean, that was one of the first things he did where I was like, okay, not bad, not bad. And then that's partly what led us to talking to Squarespace. We're like, oh, maybe we should do something here. We already do the whatistyt.com with you guys. And so so check that out. Check out Django Unchained. And every Friday on the live show, we will do American Idol style picking of the ones that we like the most, and you get to win free T-shirts. Plus, if you enter the whole thing, you also get to possibly win a lifetime membership to Squarespace and $1,000 towards consultation.
Nice.
Oh, there's the T-shirts. They look cool. All
I
right.
like it.
God bless. Go forward. Now, next.
All right. There's an interesting case out of Arizona involving a man who was a victim of statutory rape when he was 14 years old. His name is Nick Olivas, and when he was 14, he had a sexual relationship with a 20-year-old. Now, it's important to keep in mind that according to Arizona state law, children younger than the age of 15 are not able to consent as an adult under any circumstance. So, as you know, this was a case of statutory rape, and the law did go after the 20-year-old woman who had a sexual affair with him. Now, regardless of the fact that he was a victim, it turns out that the state is now going after him for child support. Apparently, the woman who had sex with him when he was 14 got pregnant, and he didn't know about it until 6 years later. And then they contacted him and said, hey, you know what? You actually owe $15,000 in back child support payments. Now, to give you a sense of how he was feeling after he was contacted by this, graphic number 14. It was a shock. I was living my life and enjoying being young. To find out you have a 6-year-old, it's unexplainable. It freaked me out. And as I mentioned, the court determined that he owed back child support and medical bills plus 10% interest. So right now the state is trying to collect the money by garnishing his wages. In fact, the state seized money from his bank account and now garnishes about $380 from his wages each month.
All right, so now let's break this down. Now, all of us did not press charges at the time, okay? But that's partly because he was 14 and didn't know what the hell was going on, right? This kid pops out 6 years later. They say not only do you have to pay money going forward, which, by the way, he says, now that I know it's my kid, I want to have a relationship with the kid, and I do want to pay going forward. He couldn't be a more decent guy, okay? He says, but really, for the 6 years I had no idea the kid even existed, after I was, went through statutory rape, I have to pay back support for those years. I mean, the kid already exists. She already, they already lived that 6 years. It's not like it's like, oh my God, if you don't give the money, she's going to starve tomorrow, right? No, it's just to give money back to his rapist.
Yep.
Okay. It's unbelievable.
I know.
And you got to pay interest on top of that, and it's not negotiable. We're taking it out of your salary every month.
This is crazy. So he wasn't old enough to consent to sex, but apparently he was old enough to father a child and pay for the child.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's a victim of rape, then how are you going to go after him and say, hey, we know you were raped when you were 14, but the girl got pregnant, so now you got to give her money for child support.
Okay.
And by the way, this isn't the only case. Go ahead, Jake.
So two things about this. Now, in this case, there's no conviction, right? But by definition, since he was 14, he could not have consented. So the state knows that it was statutory rape, whether there was a conviction or not. But they say, I don't care. Who cares? You give the money anyway. Now, in your heart of hearts, no way they would do it if the roles were reversed. No way. You're going to go to a 14-year-old girl. Let's say that she got raped, statutory rape, whatever it was, right? And the guy took care of the kid. Obviously, she would know because she was pregnant and she delivers the kid. The guy takes care of the kid. 6 years later, turns around and says, oh, remember when I raped you when you were 14? Well, you owe me money for that. For the last 6 years that I've been taking care of the kid. No state would ever allow that. No way.
Yeah, this is a crazy story. And you would think, first of all, it is rare that this happens, but it has happened in the past in other states. So Raw's story actually had a few really good examples. The first one comes from Kansas. The Kansas Supreme Court ruled in 1993 that a 13-year-old boy who had impregnated his 17-year-old babysitter was liable for child support, although state law prohibits children younger than 15 from consenting to sex. And also, a California court ruled several years ago later that 15-year-old boy must pay support for a child conceived with a 34-year-old neighbor who was convicted of statutory rape in the case. That's amazing.
Look, sometimes we goof around with stories, or I goof around, you don't, about boys who are like seniors in high school or whatever, and they have an affair with a teacher, and the teacher is hot, and we laugh, blah, blah. These are kids that are under 15 years old. And it's in the law, it's statutory rape. There's no question about it, right? with a 34-year-old, and then you're going to make a 15-year-old start paying back money? 14-year-old, oh, sorry, when you were a kid, when you were growing up, when you were playing with comic books and whatever else you were doing and you were watching. Now I was going to say all the things I used to watch. I was about to say Benny Hill. I guarantee you they were not watching Benny Hill. Okay, when you were doing all the things, watching the Super Friends and the League of Justice, in fact, you were accruing bills for when you were raped.
It's amazing.
It's the most amazing and ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But, and you know that the state does it because they think, it's a guy.
Mm-hmm. Look, when it comes to certain things, when it comes to alimony, child support, child custody, guys get it worse. They do. It's absolutely apparent in these types of laws.
Yeah, there's no way around arguing that. You would never get me to believe in a million years that they would do it to a female victim. All right, we move forward.
All right. An Oklahoma cop by the name of Daniel Holtzclaw is facing prosecution after he allegedly raped about 8 black women while he was working as a police officer. Now, he has been charged and he's being held on $5 million bond, but the surprising part about this story, or I guess based on stories we've done in the past, the least surprising part of this story is that he has his supporters. Now, according to Raw Story, Daniel Holtzclaw was arrested in August on charges of rape, forcible oral sodomy, sexual battery, and indecent exposure for allegedly sexually assaulting women while on patrol. As I mentioned, he is being held on $5 million bond. Now, a number of his supporters created a Facebook page in order to raise money for him and his defense. And they use, phrases like "Free the Claw" and hashtag "Justice for Daniel Holtzclaw." Right now, the Facebook page has more than 500 people that have liked it. And also, they have created a GoFundMe account that has raised more than $7,000. The last time we checked, it was $7,390. So this guy has been charged with raping and sexually assaulting 8 different black women, and he still has his supporters. So now, if family members started, I understand, and they probably think he's innocent for whatever reason, right? And and they'll have to go to court, see if he is or is not, right? That's how the system works. We don't know what happened in those cases. First, let me just note that I would not use "free the claw" when we're talking about a guy who might have raped 8 women. Yeah. I would go with a different nickname than the claw. Okay, call me crazy. But second of all, he doesn't have 500 family members. Exactly.
So there are guys out there, or guys and women, who are thinking like, you go get him, Claw. Like, how do they know he's innocent? I don't know. Rape. I mean, I have no idea. I don't know the details of the case that's going to be presented in court. How do they know, right? So they're positive he's innocent? Or is it that they don't care? To which I literally don't understand that. Like, how, like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Is it like, you're like, yeah, way to rape 8 women? Is it the rape part that they're cheering? Is it that it was black women that they're cheering? I literally don't understand it.
So he would target women between the ages of 34 and 58, and he would threaten to arrest them unless they exposed their bodies to him, gave him oral sex, and allowed him to fondle them.
Think about that for a second. Why is he targeting those women? It might just be a sexual fetish, right? Like, he likes black women, he likes them in that age group, or maybe he thinks these are the women who are not going to have enough power to fight back.
Yep. Let's target the powerless.
Right. Like, if I go after a white woman, who knows, maybe she's, in his mind, he's thinking, maybe she's the wife of a judge or something, and I'm going to be in trouble, yada, yada. You target black women, who's going to be there to protect them? Nobody, so I'm going to get away with it. This guy, 500 likes on his Facebook page. Look, again, if you know him personally and you think he didn't do it, I get it, right? He doesn't know 500 people that are positive that he was innocent. Mm-hmm. Some of those people are liking it for what he did. Crazy.
Yep. All right, moving on to some more devastating news when it comes to local authorities. Last December, the police department in Palestine, Arkansas, which is a very small town, lost a Humvee. Now, this was a Humvee that was given to them by the Defense Department as part of their excess property program. They'll have excess military weaponry. They don't know what to do with it, so they decide to give it to local police enforcement. And, of course, this leads to the militarization of our police force, which is, of course, very problematic. Now, the amazing part about this Humvee going missing is that, according to reports, it took a week before anyone on the small force noticed it was missing from the police station's parking lot. A short time later, they found the Humvee in the woods. Apparently, the person who stole it crashed it, and so they towed it back to the department, and now they're using the parts for their new Humvee if it ever breaks down.
Okay,
amazing.
Look, we have so much crap we've sent to the different police forces throughout the country that it's all right, keep your broken Humvee. For all the other Humvees, we're going to send you to use it for spare parts. Now, this program is a little bit more complicated. I mean, you have to understand that the great majority of the things that we send them are not heavy weaponry.
Yes.
Okay? And so if you send them stuff that they might need that we have anyway at the federal government that we're not using, that's good.
Yeah, like sleeping bags.
Right.
And there was a story that we never got to in the second hour, and it was about how there are like all these like little benign things that they've given to local police enforcement. Like,
and that's the great majority.
Like bowling pins and things like that, you
yes.
know, which is fine.
Like a Nintendo or something. Hey, you guys got it. You're not using it. Some cops in Palestine, Arkansas want to play with a Nintendo. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
And in fact, it prevents waste, if you ask me. Now, the problem is when you're sending the armored vehicles and the machine guns and all this stuff. And by the way, Alan Grayson had a great bill in the House that got absolutely pummeled, got voted down. But he said, keep the program. Just don't send things that are like bombs, nuclear devices. Okay, things that
you would think people would just need a little bit of common sense to know not to send local police enforcement.
Right.
Yeah.
And all Congress it got 66 votes out of 435.
Amazing.
Over 300 votes saying no. Keep sending the heavily weaponized like military stuff to the cops. So in this case, they send the Humvee. I love these guys because the panic they must have had a week later when they realized, oh shit, where's the Humvee?
How do you not notice that the Humvee is missing? I mean, you're not living in like this big ass town, in like this big ass area. Like, you're a small police force. How do you not notice that there is a Humvee missing? By the way, that's not the only case. Like, there have been other instances of Humvees that have gone missing. Can I read that to you a second?
Yeah, one second. Palestine Police Chief Stanley Barnes said when they figured out it was missing, we just do what police officers do. We find out who done it. People talk. Okay, good for you. Good for you.
He sounds really smart.
Yeah, you figured it out a week later.
Yes.
Nice job. How many cars are there even in the parking lot in Palestine, Arkansas?
No, I love this story. Okay, so as I mentioned, there have been other instances of Humvees going missing. At least 3 other police stations have misplaced or been robbed of their government-issued Humvees in the past 5 years.
Okay.
Wow.
Apparently they're popular. You know, I didn't know this. They don't have keys. But on the internet, you can look up how to start a Humvee.
Yep.
So people are like jumping into the Humvees. They looked it up online, and they're taking off.
They're going on joyrides.
Yeah, and then a week later, some sheriff in Arkansas is like, now we got a whodunit on our hands here. We're going to get her done. Get that Humvee back. Oh, well, you're gone.
Okay.
We'll use it for spare parts instead.
All right. So this is, look, that's funny, but this is no laughing matter.
No,
okay?
It's not. Don't laugh.
Because then there are also guns that go missing. And these are
course.
guns that the Defense Department gives to the local authorities, and then all of a sudden we don't know where they are. Police departments like Palestine's have been suspended from the Pentagon 1033 program for misplacing at least 14 M16 assault rifles, 11 M14 assault rifles, 21 pistols, and 10 shotguns.
Now, that's not all from one place.
Yes.
They're saying police departments like Palestine, Arkansas, have misplaced all those different kinds of guns at different times, some in bigger batches where people go, and it turns out one of them was just reselling it, which is totally illegal.
Yeah.
Right? And they were just skimming money off of this program, but that guy got busted. The rest of them were like, damn it, where? Oh, by the way, the guy who I love, Sheriff Joe.
Yes.
Okay? I don't love him because I like him. I love him because he's such an idiot, right? He gets tough on crime. That's what Sheriff Joe does. Do you have what he lost? No, I got it here.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. Sheriff Joe lost an M16, one of the 89 that they got from the government, okay, and 9 Colt 45 handguns.
Jesus.
How do you lose 9 Colts? I don't, but Sheriff Joe, I make them wear pink underwear. Steven Seagal and I drive our tank through a chicken fighting, cockfighting business. Yeah! Where are my guns? What happened? Where'd they go?
Yeah, and he got suspended from the program as a result of losing those weapons.
Sheriff Joe's such a clown, man. And look, I've now read in 128 different instances that when you militarize things, the reaction becomes more violent. Not just here in the U.S., but in other instances in other countries as well. That as soon as force shows up, the protesters or whoever it was on the other side that was peaceful turn violent, right? So this doesn't help anybody. Otherwise, let's get it done. Okay, are we out of time?
We're out of time, dude.
God damn, man, I ran out of time in both hours.
Spent 30 minutes talking about celebrity pictures, which is good. That was an important story. I actually liked it.
You know what? I want to talk a little bit more about that in the post-game. No, because somebody came up with an interesting conspiracy theory on that.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
About how the rest of the media, why the rest of the media isn't covering it?
Yeah.
That is really
Let's
interesting.
talk about it a little bit.
All right, so for the members in the post-game, we'll start that discussion. And then God knows where that will lead, because it might lead to things like, what do we not want leaked? Okay, so that's for the members in the post-game. Bye-bye.
Who wants to build me a website? Bueller? Bueller?
You liked that, didn't you?
All right, if you want the whole show, you like it even more, go to tytnetwork.com, go under member options, and you can get the whole show anytime you like.